Yada Yahuwah. Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Just a Word. This is Chazak Eliyahu Yasharal, and we are here one more time. And today we are going to be looking into the question, am I converted? Why most of us will be shocked to hear, I never knew you. I never knew you. Now, there's a basic problems and believers all over the world. We have to get this. We have to get this, believers all over the world. Most of us are religious. We are in religion. We are in knowledge. And knowledge is not conversion. If any man be in Messiah, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things have become new. So when we are in Hamashiach, then everything about our old life has to go away and everything now has to be new. But most of us came into religion. We hear a little of the word and we go about and we seek knowledge. We study, we might know the word. We might go out seeking the word. And I know this, many people, they will come to me, like throughout the week, I have people coming to me asking me different things. Some of the people I know personally. And you ask yourself, all of this knowledge, some people have been asking for years, and you don't see any transformation, and you start thinking about yourself. What about me? What about the transformation? Am I being transformed by the word, or am I just in knowledge, just knowing the word or hearing the word? And this is what happens to people who just come to the word. The word has no power. We might study the word for the sake of arguments, or someone might ask us something and we want to be able to answer. But there is no transformation in our lives. This is what it's all about. It's about lives being transformed, being made new. So when we come into the way, we might adjust some things, but there are some things in us that remain rigid and will not change. Some things in us, the old person, and that old person, of course, is relished by the sinful man. And the sinful man stays riveted in us, and the sinful man remains the same in us. So we will have a form of godliness. We will look religious, sound religious, act religious. Our lives might be even said to be dedicated to the Most High. But there is something that remains in us that is preventing us from being totally transformed. And the way we know about total transformation, when we are converted, we are going to be spiritually suicidal. We are going to be Revelation 12:11, love not their lives unto the death. And we are going to be, of course, be willing to take any crap, as they call it in the Western world, any foolishness from anyone whatsoever. So let's begin by looking at 2 Timothy 3 verses 1 to 12, because we know that we are in this time. But we usually leave off a look at a certain part of this prophecy. 2 Timothy 3, starting from verse 1.
This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come.
Perilous
times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of allure,
Continue.
having a form of holiness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away.
All right. So all of these things we would see, all of these things happening together today in the physical realm. But here's a spiritual thing that is happening, and we do not pay much attention to it. Because many of us are guilty of this one. Having a form of holiness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. This is what I'm talking about. Many of us today have a form of holiness. Study the word, know the word, but the word is not manifest in our lives. We are hearers of the word and not doers of the word. Verse 6.
For of this sort are they which creep into houses, and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts, ever learning, and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth.
So they creep into houses and lead silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts. So when most people read this, we're going to think of people going into houses, literally creeping into houses. This is speaking of going and capturing people by our form of holiness. Capturing people who are sinful, who have diverse lusts, and lead them astray. Verse 7.
Ever learning, and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth.
And if you look online, you will see this. People ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. People who have been all over Facebook, moving from one teacher to the other, one to the other. There is nothing concrete about us, just learning and not able to come to the knowledge of the truth. And we know the knowledge of the truth here, the law is the truth, and Hamashiach is the truth. So ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of Yahusha Hamashiach. And we know that it is Yahusha Hamashiach who makes us have that necessary, essential change that is needed to transform our lives. Verse 8.
Now as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds, reprobate concerning the...
All right, go, please. Where were we?
For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin.
Continue.
For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that do I.
This is conversion. When we have totally been able to cancel out this. That which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that do I. This is me now doing what I hate. I don't want to do it, but sin has willed me on to do it. This is when we are converted, when we are over this, when this body of sin has no power over us. This is our job. This is our task. This is where we should be going and aiming for. Verse 16.
If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the Torah that it is good. Now then it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me.
You see? So sin must no longer dwell in us, meaning we must be over this. That is our task today. And sadly, most of us have not reached to this point. And still, we tend to be critical of others because we might be at another point that the person is not. But because the sin still has power over us, the sin will be manifested in all of us in some shape or form. Yeah? Continue.
For I know that in me, that is my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I find not. For the good that I would, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do.
All right? So this is the conversion here. When we are over this, the good that I would, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do. This is when we, in every single occasion, every single time, we are actually over this. Okay? So, all right. So we do not know righteousness until we reach to this level of perfection. We do not know righteousness until we have been truly, fully converted. All right? That's why we cannot point fingers at each other, because the bar is so high. And I have reached to a certain point where I don't think that you have reached. And I am pointing fingers at you while there is something else that is lacking in me. 1 John 3, 1 to 11. Of course, I'm not saying that we do not correct one another, but I'm speaking about that critical condemnation of persons. 1 John 3, 1 to 11.
Behold,
The only way we can actually condemn people is when we have reached to this level, and people who have reached to this level actually do not condemn. 1 John 3, 1 to 11.
behold, what manner of love the Father had bestowed upon us, that we shall be called the sons of Elua. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. Beloved, now are we the sons of Elua, and it does not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is.
All right, so hear this now. These verses are written, but they are written for people who are in a high state of righteousness. We read them and we assume that it is speaking to us. But is it really speaking to us? Is it really speaking to us? Let's see, verse 3.
And every man that hath this hope in him purifieth himself, even as he is pure.
So every man who has this hope has to be purified as he is. We have to be like him. So if we have this hope to be the sons of the Most High, we have to be like him. Ask ourselves, are we like him? Verse 4.
Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the Torah, for sin is the transgression of the Torah.
Sin is a transgression of the Torah, but sin does not stop at the Torah. There are other things that are sin. I had done a thing and showed five other things that are not in the Torah that is shown to be sin. Whatever is not of emunah, whatever is not of faith, is sin. There are others as well. So the bar is high, and the bar is based on sin. Because when you are converted, sin will not have dominion over you. You're not saying 100% of the time you will not sin, but you will not be under the power of sin. Verse 5. Verse 5.
And ye know that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin.
So it's a hint here to tell us that he was manifested to take away our sin, and in him is no sin. And if you walk as he walked, then you will be walking without sin. Because he goes on to say,
Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not. Whosoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither known him.
whosoever abideth in him sinneth not. And what does it mean to abide in him? Let's just skip across to 1 John 2:6.
He that said, he abided in him, ought himself also to walk, even as he walked.
So if we abide in him, if we walk as he walked, then we will not sin. Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not. Whosoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither known him. So we can have all the knowledge of the scriptures. What did Shaul says? That I may know him and the fellowship of his suffering, if at any way I can attain unto the resurrection of the dead. So to know him, we might be there knowing scripture and knowing that the most important thing is to know Hamashiach. And to know Hamashiach is to abide in him, and to abide in him is to walk as he walked. Not in our sinful nature, not with sin having dominion over us, but to walk as Hamashiach walked. Verse 7.
Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not. Whosoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither known him. Little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous.
He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. And then he gets a little harder. Verse 8.
He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the son of Alua was manifested, that he might destroy the works of Hasatan.
So John here was speaking to an assembly that was converted. Because if you tell us today, he that committed sin is of the devil, then almost all of us would say that we are of the devil. But the word committed here is a very funny word. It has so many meanings. So the meaning that the translator gave us, it's hard to know whether it is right. It's from the Greek poio, apparently a prolonged form of an obsolete primary, to make or do. So it is saying any man who makes sin or does sin is of the devil. It says abides. It could mean any man who abides in sin. Agrees, appoint, avenge, band together, bear, beware, bring forth, cast out, cause, commit. There's so many things. Look at that. So it is not clear as to whether it means if you commit any individual sin, in which there's another verse now that we're going to see that tells us that it might not be referring to every single sin you commit. Verse 9.
Whosoever is born of Alua doth not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin because he is born of Alua.
So this seems to be, appears to be saying that if you're born of Alua, you will not sin at all. This is conversion. This is what the Most High expects of us. In the books of the Nazarene, what did Hamashiach say? If whatever he does, it is expected that we do the same, isn't it? He said something as if this burden was too heavy, he would not expect us to carry it.
He would never ask us to carry something that he himself couldn't carry.
So this is the life that we're expected to live. And yet still, as brothers and sisters, we are actually acting, because some of us might be able to, even some of us, every one of us is looking at the other person's fault and not realizing that we are not where we should be. Whosoever is born of Alua does not commit sin. And he tells you why. For his seed remaineth in him, the seed through the Ruach. So when the Ruach is in us, the seed will be in us, preventing us from sin. Verse 10.
In this, the children of Alua are manifest, and the children of Hasatan, Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of Alua, neither he that loveth not his brother.
So here's the differentiation now. The children of Alua is manifest in this. It's manifest in those who continue to sin. And the children of Alua will not walk in sin. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of Alua, neither he that loveth not his brother. So if we are not walking in love to our brother, not doing righteousness, it means we are not of Alua. And this is why I'm saying most of us today are religious people. Most of us are going through the paces, thinking we are there. And there is that dangerous I never knew you that is waiting. Because most people do not seek after Yahusha HaMashiach, do not seek to be like him, do not hold him as a standard, do not hold sinlessness and perfection as a standard. This morning in our teaching, we were looking at what happens to us when we die. And we were saying that one of the things that happens to us if we die in sin is that we realize that we cannot now go back and make right that which was wrong. That is a very terrifying thought. So each and every one of us have to live to make sure that we attain unto perfection, helping one another to perfection, not beating down one another or having rivalry against one another because of different things that might have happened. Verse 11.
For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning, that we should love one another.
And this is the whole bottom line of conversion. Loving one another. This is when it's manifest, when we are converted, when we love one another and are able to bear with the different deficiencies of one another, bearing with one another through love. 1 John 2. So we were saying that it appears as if to say we must never ever sin. But why would John say this in 1 John 2, 1-2?
My little children, these things write I unto you, that ye sin not. And if any man sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Yahusha HaMashiach, the righteous. And he is the propitiation for our sins. Propitiation for our sins. And not for ours only, but also for the sins of the whole world.
Also for the sins of the whole world. So, if any man sin, that means he's saying that you might sin. So whosoever is born of Alua will not commit sin, but if they do, they have an advocate with the Father, Yahushua Mashiach, the righteous. And that is when you pray to the Father in the name of the Son, our advocate, and our sins will be forgiven. That is, as long as it is not willful sin. Because Hebrews 10:26-27 tells us if we sin willfully after we have received knowledge of the truth, there remains no more sacrifice for sins. Now we are going to go to a part of the teaching where people will not like. We are going to go to the differentiation between women and men in terms of getting back to Adam before sin, showing that a woman's salvation is different from the salvation of the man. Very uncomfortable, but must be done. So converting back to Adam before sin, a woman's salvation is different from the man. Now, when we go in the scriptures, we will see that there are things that are said of the woman that might sound different from the woman that we have today. That is because of Babylon, of course. Babylon, being the direct enemy of Yahuwah, has turned the world opposite to Yahuwah's order. So all of us here were brought up in the system of Babylon. So being brought up in the system of Babylon, we learned Babylon's ways, and we grew up nurtured in Babylon. Now you come to the way of the Most High. We have to go back to the way of the Most High. We have to read the scriptures and see what they are saying and get an understanding of what is expected of us. So 1 Timothy 2, 8-15, we are going to look at that.
I will, therefore, that men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands, without wrath and doubting.
So men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands, without wrath, without anger, and without doubting. That is for the men. But this is very significant that he spoke about men being praying. And then this is what he had for the woman. Because a woman's salvation is different. A woman is judged by her ability to suppress her sinful nature. All of us are. But that nature in a woman that was in Eve, women are judged by that ability to suppress that. Verse 9.
In like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly array.
So, the two significant words that we're looking at, shamefacedness and sobriety. The word shamefacedness refers to, comes from G1 as a negative particle, and G1492, 92, through the idea of downcast eyes. Bashfulness, that is towards men. Modesty, or towards allure, or reverence, shamefacedness. Now, this is very significant. It is saying that the woman, the true woman that he's speaking about, must be modestly attired. Yes, many of us women, we do that. We attire ourselves modestly. But what about this part? With shamefacedness, through the idea of downcast eyes, bashfulness that is toward men. So the woman must be so humble before the man, the woman is not even willing or able to look into the man's eyes. That is a holy woman. That is what it's talking about. And she is so bashful towards the man, she's even afraid to speak to the man. That's what bashful means, isn't it? What does bashful mean? Bashful. This is not the woman that Babylon has given us. But when we are converted, when we revert, this is where we should be. Bashful means socially shy or timid. Socially shy or timid. So the true set-apart woman, converted woman, will not be bold and in the man's face. She will be timid to even look into the eyes of a man. Modesty, or towards allure, awe. So that woman will be in awe of Yahuwah. What does awe refer to? It refers to the fear of Yahuwah. That woman will be in total fear of Yahuwah. So much fear of Yahuwah. That woman will be even afraid to speak. That is the true mark of what a woman should be. Remember, we are talking about conversion and we are showing where we need to be. If we are not where we need to be, it means we are where we should not be at this time. So it says shamefacedness and sobriety. Sobriety comes from the Greek sophrosune, something like that. Yeah. From G4998, soundness of mind, that is literally sanity, or figuratively self-control, soberness. So that woman must have total self-control. And where is a woman's lack of self-control most readily manifested? It is through her
mouth,
through speech. So she should be so bashful, she's afraid to speak, and will have control even when she wants to speak. She's not riled up having to be angry and having to talk and having to this. She is able to control herself because of bashfulness towards man, and also because of awe or reverence or fear of Yahuwah. So we continue. Back to Adam before sin. How we get back to Adam before the sin of Adam and Eve. A woman's salvation is different from the man. 1 Timothy 2 verse 10.
But which becometh woman, professing holiness with good works.
So the behavior of the woman must be that which becometh woman, professing holiness with good works. Remember, we were saying Babylon made us into women of made our society women of power, women who dominate, women who dictate, women prime minister, women this, women every single thing, women vice president of corporations and this, all sorts of things, empowering women, going against the order of the Most High. That is what we are coming out of. The whole thing is, how do we go back to being women like this? Then that is why it says now in verse 11,
let the woman learn in silence with all subjection.
So he is saying here, the woman must keep silent. So let's look at some of these words. Silence, and we're going to look at subjection. The word silence is from the Greek word hesokia, feminine of G2272, as known stillness. That is desistance from bustle or language, quietness, silence. So what this is referring to is that a woman must not even twitch while she's in the assembly. That's it. It says stillness, that is desistance from bustle or language. Let's look at what bustle means, even though we have an idea. Want to get this exact today? Bustle means to move briskly or often ostentatiously, to be busily astir. So to be doing anything at all, moving about, showing body language, facial language, whatever, that is a no-no for a true converted, set-apart woman. And it says she must learn in silence, quiet, with all subjection. And the word subjection there is from the Greek word hupotagai, which means subordination. Subordination. Let's look at the meaning of subordination. Subordination, placement in a lower class, rank, or position. So it is an acknowledgement of the woman that she is in a lower class. She is not equal with the men. A willingness to humble herself down to nothing. This is not me. This is what the word is saying. The act or process of subordinating someone or something, or the state of being subordinated. And the synonym is compliance, conformity, obedience, submission. Submission. So how does the woman get back to Adam before sin? Let's continue. In 1 Timothy 2 verse 12.
But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence.
But to be in
Silence.
Again, he repeated this silence. So, to usurp authority over the man, what does that mean? Usurp authority is the Greek word authentio from a compound of G 846, to act of oneself. That is figuratively dominate, usurp authority over, to act of oneself. So the woman has to be in submission, which means she will not be acting of herself. That is why it says, if she would learn anything, let her ask her husband at home. So she is not to be acting of her own self. Let's continue.
For Adam was first formed, then Eve.
So the for there means because. So what he's telling you, that all this thing that I'm telling you now about the woman, it is because of Adam and Eve. Adam was first formed, then Eve. And what happened?
And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression.
So the woman being deceived was in the transgression. So in other words, he's saying that it was a woman who was deceived. And when she was deceived, she was in the transgression. So she now has to be under subordination, under submission, to go back to Adam and Eve when Eve was in submission to the Most High. Remember, we said conversion is getting us back to Adam and Eve before they sinned. That's what life is all about for us. That's it. Going back to, reconciling back to Yahuwah. Let's go to verse 15.
Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in emunah and love and holiness with sobriety.
So how can the woman be saved? It says she shall be saved in childbearing. What does it mean in childbearing, first of all? Childbearing. Let's go to Genesis 3, verse 16.
Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee.
And he shall
rule over thee.
Rule over thee. Let me get something set up before I get back to that. I had what? Yeah. Oh yeah. This is Midian. Oh yeah. Oh, this is, I don't think I'm ready for this as yet. Let me get back. Yeah. Childbearing. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. This is what it's talking about. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children. And this goes back to Hasad's dream. She was bringing forth that child, but the child was not brought forth in sorrow. Remember, you did not go through travail to have that child. That means that that child, hey, if the command is for you to be saved in childbearing through sorrow, bringing forth that child, and you did not bring forth that child through sorrow, and when you look, the child ended up being nothing but dirty. What is that saying? Think about it. What is it saying? You should have brought it forth in sorrow. It was not brought forth in sorrow. But yet still, it was dirty. It is a confirmation of this here. That you have to have been brought through in sorrow and have the husband rule over you. And you did not. And that is why they, after that, it was all blood and everything was unclean after that. So I believe it has something to do with this. Let's see how it develops. All right. So, all right. So the danger of the tongue, because we're looking at when we are lacking in subjection, the danger of the tongue. And of course, we're speaking about the woman being in silence. And we are talking about the opposite woman that has been bred by Babylon. The opposite that has been bred by Babylon. Babylon has given us a woman that is equal to the man, and that woman has equal voice and speaks whenever she wants to speak, whatever. Not bashful to speak. So let's look at the difference with the woman that is nurtured in Babylon, as opposed to the woman being quiet and under all subjection. James 3, verses 1 to 18. People, we all want to be perfected. It is my desire that we all make it to the kingdom, really and truly. But we need to get our houses, all of us need to get our houses in order. James 3, verse 1.
My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation.
Many masters there means many teachers. Do not strive to be a teacher, because it is so much more easy to be condemned than those who are being led. Continue.
For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body.
The whole body, if we can control our tongues, we can control our whole body. So when you are converted, you will have to have control over your tongue. Verse 3.
Behold, we put bits in the horses' mouths, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Behold also the ships, which though they be so great, and are driven of fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. Even so the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth.
The tongue is a little member. And women who are watching this, the Most High is doing you a favor. Because if you cannot speak, then the only way you can sin is in your thoughts. When men are out there speaking, he said up here, be not many masters, for in many things we offend all. So we are speaking, and we are running the risk every time that we speak of speaking sinful words. When the Most High says, woman, be quiet in the assembly, and you don't speak, then you will not offend in words. Continue.
And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature.
But hear this.
And it is set on fire of Sheol.
Of hell. So it is set on fire of Sheol. So devilish forces will use us, the more we speak, to actually speak error. And we see this in the book Shepherd of Hermas, the angel of righteousness and the angel of wickedness, or the angel of iniquity. So the more we speak, the more likely the angel of iniquity will come out. Verse 7.
For every kind of beasts, and of birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison.
That's why I'm telling you that the Most High does the woman a favor when he says women must be silent in the assembly. It will teach you over time self-control. Over time, self-control. Verse 9.
Therewith barak we Alua, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of Alua. Out of the same mouth proceedeth barakah and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be.
All right, we can leave it at there. These things ought not to be. So we just look at the, let me see how far it goes. Oh, it goes to 18. So we have to deal with the wisdom now. We go to verse 13.
Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom.
So when you have self-control and you are wise and you have true knowledge, then you will show out of a good conversation, speech, and also from your behavior. Conversation also means behavior as well as speech here. Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom, humility of wisdom. Verse 14.
But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, exalt not and lie not against the truth.
So we must not have envy and strife in our hearts. If we do, we are going to be liars. Verse 15.
This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. For where envying and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work.
Where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. Let's go to the meaning of envying and strife, since it says that. Envying there, properly heat, that is zeal in a favorable sense, ardor. In an unfavorable one, jealousy as of a husband, or figuratively of a lure, or an enemy, malice, emulation, indignation, jealousy, fervent mind, zeal. And strife refers to intrigue, that is by implication, faction, contention. So this is division. So where there is malice and contention and division, there will be confusion and every evil work. It does not say some evil work. Every evil work. But verse 17 says,
But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy.
the wisdom from above is pure compared to strife, confusion, and every evil work. Purity, peaceableness, gentleness, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. This is the wisdom that comes from above. And verse 18 says,
And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace.
the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. So when we have the wisdom from above, we will be peacemakers. As the word says, Barak are the peacemakers. So the righteousness will come from those who are peacemakers, not those who are hung up with envying and strife. All right?
1 Corinthians 3, 1-3.
1 Corinthians 3, 1-3. All right, go ahead.
And I, brethren, cannot speak unto you as unto spiritual.
Sorry, I don't have the right thing. Yeah, go ahead.
And I, brethren, cannot speak unto you as spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in Hamashiach. I have fed you with milk and not with meat, for hereto ye were not able to bear it, neither yet now are ye able, for ye are yet carnal. For whereas There is among you envying and strife and divisions. Are ye not carnal and walk as men?
Wow.
So, in other words, if there's envying and strife and divisions, that means we are all carnal still.
Yeah.
Thus, there's no conversion happening yet.
Yeah. Envying and strife and divisions. Are ye not carnal and walk as men? So, in other words, we are not to walk as men. We are to walk in the Ruach, as led by Hamashiach. All right? So, women must be under subjection to be saved. There are no two ways about it. And this is something that I teach and people mock it. But when you look at the precepts going back to Adam and Eve, we see it very, very clearly. 1 Corinthians 14:29.
Let the prophets speak 2 or 3, and let the other judge. If anything be revealed to another that sitteth by, let the first hold his shalom. For ye may all prophesy one by one, that all may learn, and all may be comforted. And the ruach of the prophets are subject to the prophets. For Alua is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the assemblies of the Kodashim.
So when the Ruach of Yahuwah is leading the assembly, there will not be confusion. There will be the opposite, which is shalom, or peace, in all assemblies of the saints. Then he went on to say, because hear this, he spoke about the prophets. The prophets, of course, are the men. Now he's speaking about the women. For Alua is not the author of confusion, as in all assemblies of the saints. And in order to prevent confusion, he went on to say, in order to prevent confusion, what did he say next?
Let your woman keep silence in the assemblies, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience.
As, let me tell you what it says. What is that? 1 Corinthians 14, verse what?
35. 34.
All right. 1 Corinthians 14:34. Let your women keep silence in the assemblies, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. So, what is the law? What is the Torah? What is the Torah? What is the law?
What is the law?
Yeah. What is the Torah?
The first 5 books in Yahusha.
The first 5 books in the Bible. So there are some people out there who says, what is Shaul talking about? They are commanded to be under obedience. Where in the law does it say women must be under obedience? They are looking for a law that says, thus saith Yahuwah, the woman must be silent. But the law is the first 5 books. So all we have to do is go back to Genesis 3:16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. What did Shaul say in 1 Corinthians 14:34? They are commanded to be under obedience. This is the law. He shall rule over thee. So any woman that is not under obedience to her husband is breaking the Torah. Any woman that is not under obedience to her husband, every time she disobeys her husband, she breaks the law. Because the law says, he shall rule over thee. Any woman that is not allowing the husband to rule her has broken Torah. Any woman that is ruling her husband has broken Torah. Look at it. They are commanded to be under obedience, as saith the law. And the law says, he shall rule over thee. So, how can a woman go back to Yahuwah, stand before Yahuwah, having ruled her husband? Impossible. And not even her husband, not being in subjection, for example, to an assembly. A woman's salvation is different from a man. A woman's burden is different from that of a man. Just like the Most High does everything with everyone. A Gentile salvation is different from the children of Israel. Every man to his own order. And we saw in the book of the Nazarene how Mashiach said, every man, he said something similar, that no two bear the same burden. Didn't he say that?
Correct.
No two bear the same burden. A woman's burden is different from a man. It all goes back to Adam and Eve. Many people don't understand what Shaul is speaking about. Our perfection is our ability to go back to Adam and Eve. So the woman must be under subjection to be saved. Continue in 1 Corinthians 14:35.
Which verse?
35. And if they will learn,
anything, let them ask their husbands at home. For it is a shame for women to speak in the assembly.
it is a what?
A shame for women to speak in the assembly.
You see the order? It is a shame. A shame for women to speak in the assembly. So it says, even if they will learn anything, let them not ask it in the assembly. That's what it's saying. Wait until they go home. So I guess this would mean that when the assembly breaks up. So as long as the assembly is convened, the woman must not speak. And Shaul went to emphasize this now, because there are some people who will be saying, oh, Shaul, what is Shaul speaking about? I understand exactly what Shaul is speaking about. And from my limited experience, I understand everything about this exactly. I understand it. Don't know if you do. Verse 36.
What? Came the word of Eluah out from you, or came it unto you only? If any man think himself to be a prophet or spiritual, let him acknowledge that the things that I write unto you are the commandments of Yahuwah.
All right. So if any man wants to say, hey, this is not so, this is wrong. All right. Shaul is telling you that these are the commandments of Eluah. Continue.
But if any man be ignorant, let him be ignorant. Wherefore, brethren, covet to prophesy, and forbid not to speak with tongues. Let all things be done decently and in order.
And this again is a job at the Christian church, because it says, wherefore, brethren, covet to prophesy. It's speaking to brethren, it's speaking to men. And forbid not to speak with tongues, it is speaking to men. And when you're in the Christian church, it is mostly the women who are speaking in what they call tongues. That has been my experience in the assembly, in the church where I used to attend. The verse 39, covet to prophesy and forbid not to speak with tongues, is speaking to the men. Because the woman must be silent. It is a shame for women to speak in the assembly. So this is not referring to them. And verse 40 tells us why it is done. Let all things be done decently and in order. Decently and in order. And as long as women are allowed to speak, it cannot be done decently and it cannot be done in order. And that has been my experience. All right, so decently and in order. Let's look at the order in the assembly. Ecclesiastes 7:27 to 28.
Behold, this have I found, saith the preacher, counting one by one, to find out the account, which yet my soul seeketh, but I find not. One man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all those have I not found.
The preacher is saying that among 1,000 he may find a righteous man, but among 1,000 he has not found a righteous woman. This is why it has to be done decently in order, and this is why women have to be under subjection. So the righteous man will subject the woman, and the woman being under subjection will be able to follow the righteousness that is led by the man, especially the righteousness that is in an assembly. So the husband might not be in perfection, but the assembly itself is above the husband in terms of the assembly is speaking the righteousness. The husband might not be following the righteousness. So in an assembly, the woman has to subject herself to the man and to the assembly that is led by a man. So that is why in 1 Corinthians 11 verse 3, it tells us of the order.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is Alua.
The head of the woman is the man. It did not say the head of the woman is her husband. It says the head of the woman is the man. That is why the true set apart woman will be in shamefacedness and sobriety before her husband. And you know, I just realized that I left out a little part here. Let me remember to go back to it. Let me go back to this. Where is it? Yes. I just remember this. Saved in childbearing. So when we say saved in childbearing, not just having children saves the woman. There's a condition again. It says, if they continue in faith and love and holiness with sobriety, which is submission or self-control. So the woman saved in childbearing, if they continue in emunah or faith, love, holiness, and self-control. I just forgot that I didn't point that out. Sorry about that. So where was I? Yes. So when it says the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is Alua, that is why it says, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, not over her husband, over the man, but to be in silence. So remember, we said earlier that the woman in subjection would be in awe of Yahuwah or reverence of Yahuwah. Without the fear of Yahuwah, a woman cannot be under full subjection. Now, it has been my experience over the years that women, especially women who have been given gifts, seem to think that the Most High is their personal friend, that they can do anything and the Most High has their back. This has been my experience, and you cannot tell many of these women anything to let them know that Yahuwah does not play. You will think that he has your back, and you might even be in a delusion. You have to seek out righteousness no matter what. You cannot take anything for granted. This is my experience with myself. Yes? You cannot take anything for granted that, hey, you have this, Yahuwah has called you to do this, so you know, he has your back and he's with you and he's all with you with everything and no one can this and no one. No! We have to make sure that we fear Yahuwah. When you fear Yahuwah, you will not do anything that will take you away from him. If you do not fear him and assume that he has your back, he will not have your back because you don't fear him. All right? Proverbs 31 verse 30.
Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth Yahuwah, she shall be praised.
The woman that feareth Yahuwah, she shall be praised. So when she fears Yahuwah, this is what will happen to her.
The fear of Yahuwah is to hate evil, pride and arrogancy, and the evil way and the forward mouth do I hate.
So the woman and the man, of course, will hate evil if they fear Yahuwah. So they will not do that which is wrong. They will hate pride. So they will be humble, shamefaced. And they will hate arrogancy. And they will hate the evil way, whatever is evil, and the forward mouth, the mouth that is predisposed to rebellion and disobedience. The woman will hate it. Yeah? And when the woman or the man fears Yahuwah, Ecclesiasticus 1:21 says,
The fear of Yahuwah driveth away sins, and where it is present, it turneth away wrath.
So when the woman fears Yahuwah, then that woman will walk sinless. Very important. A woman cannot be under full subjection unless she is fearing Yahuwah. Because if she does not fear Yahuwah, when the pride of life, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, when her emotions start taking grip on her, she will not have the desire for self-control. She will have the desire to express whatever comes to her. But when she fears Yahuwah, it will drive away sins. She will be able to have self-control. Now we come to the man. A man fearing Yahuwah will have his woman under subjection. Ecclesiasticus 27, verse 3.
Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of Yahuwah, his house shall soon be overthrown.
Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of Yahuwah, his house shall soon be overthrown. So if the man does not fear Yahuwah, his woman, even his children, will overthrow him. Ecclesiasticus, Sirach 90, verse 20.
The fear of Yahuwah is all wisdom, and in all wisdom is the performance of the law and the knowledge of his omnipotency.
So when we fear Yahuwah, it will bring all wisdom. And in this all wisdom, the man will be able to rule his house. He will be able to have his wife under and children under subjection. And he will be able to perform the law. And in performing the law, Genesis 3:16 will come into mind when it says, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow shalt thou bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So the husband has also the task of ruling over his wife in order to obey the commandments. If I, as a man, am not ruling over my wife, I have disobeyed the commandment. Where do I think I am going? I have to be able to obey the commandment, to go back to before Eve sinned, when Adam was in charge, before everything was turned around. That is where we all have to go. So for the woman, she has to be in subjection to the man, and for the man, he has to have the woman under subjection, or else he has broken Torah. All right. So, pleading. We're going to be looking at pleading. And we are going to look first at Ezekiel 20, 34 to 38. Because we're going to look at the impact of the woman on the end time assembly. The impact of the woman on the end time assembly. And we are going to see that the woman is used by the Most High to plead with his people. Ezekiel 20, 34 to 38, we are speaking of the second Exodus. Ezekiel 20, 34 to 38. Let me get it. I'll tell you when I got it. 20, 34 to 38. Look for the word plead. Go to 33 first.
As I live, saith Yahuwah Eluah, surely with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, will I rule over you.
Will I do what?
Rule over you.
Will I rule over you? What is the order of his rule? 1 Corinthians 11, verse 3. This is how the Most High will rule over us. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 3.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is Eluah.
This is the order. This is how he will rule over us. Verse 34.
And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
This word, plead, will I plead with you face to face. Let me see if we get a meaning. I didn't look for the meaning. Plead there is the word shafat, which means to judge. To judge, that is pronounced sentence for or against. By implication, to vindicate or punish. By extension, to govern. Passively, to litigate. So this is what we're saying. He will judge us. He says he will rule over us. And it says to litigate, to judge. So he is going to judge us the order, according to the order that we follow. Are we following his order? As set out in 1 Corinthians 11, verse 3, where the head of the man is Hamashiach, and the head of Hamashiach is Eluah, but the head of the woman is the man. Will we follow that order? That is the question. Continue.
Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith Yahuwah Eluah. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
All right. I will cause you to pass under the rod. That means it's not going to be an easy road. Okay? So, anyone expecting an easy ride, especially for us here, you are going to be disappointed. He said it. He will cause you. So all the different challenges that we are having, they are not by chance. Who caused it? Yahuwah. I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. This is what is going to happen in the end. So after we go through all the hell that we have to go through here, then what we have waiting for us is the bond of the covenant. But this is what he's going to do along the way. Verse 38.
And I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me.
I will purge out from among you the
rebels.
And remember this word, because we're going to look at rebellion after this as well. And them that transgress against me. So, if we are speaking here about the order, if the woman is not under subjection, the woman is going to be transgressing against Yahuwah. If the man does not have the woman under subjection, the man will be transgressing against Yahuwah. Very, very important. I will
bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Yasharel. And ye shall know that I am Yahuwah.
These are us who have been brought out of the land where we sojourned. Yeah? He's telling us of a rejection according to whether or not we rebel and according to how we transgress. So people, together, even us here as a group, we should be coming together to see how we can take sin from among us, how we can help each other out of sin, not to be fighting, consuming one another. This has to be on the back of our minds. How can we help each other on the way to perfection? Not how we can beat down one another, how we can condemn, how we can put down and cancel out one another. Because this is what we all are facing. All are facing the purging of the rebels and those who transgress. So, we are going to the men again. Those men led by women will be cut off. I know in Babylon, if you get this out there to the people out there, I wanted them to get this. In Babylon, women have the upper hand. I'll just, if you can just even put up this piece to let the people out there. Babylon has programmed us to give the woman equal or upper billing. And when we have a woman that is strong-willed, us men tend to give heed to the woman for peace of mind. Because men love peace of mind. And we don't love when the woman, because women are manipulators. They know men. They know what has men going, what they can do to get the man to do their bidding. The man now wants this peace of mind. So he will even know that that is what the woman is doing. But for the peace of mind, he just said, And so some men will say, oh, she wears the pants. Oh, go and talk to my wife. She will do this. For peace of mind, because she is so strong-willed and she wants to lead, the man will allow her to lead. So this is the problem with the world of believers today. When you come to the Most High, you have to flip it around. It has to. Remember, we were in Babylon. We cannot bring the way of Babylon with us. We have to go back to the old path, which is the
good way.
And we will find rest for our
souls.
souls. That's where we have to go back. So let's go. Isaiah 27. And we're going to skip out some verses 1 to 3. You can read all of it if you want. Isaiah 27. Let's go to verse 1 to 3. And we are going to show. And another thing before we go. We have to know about grafting in, that even we as Israelites, this is another thing that I have to say. Let me just say this before we go into this. Israelites, as the children of Israel, when we wake up and find out who we are, many of us just jump in and start religions and start all sorts of things and start to think as if the Most High owes us an obligation. Let me tell you something. You see that olive tree that the Gentiles have to be grafted into? We ourselves have to be grafted into the same olive tree. Because remember, what happened to us is that we had been cut off. We were cut off because of the unbelief of our fathers, sent into captivity. And sent into captivity, we were estranged from the Most High. Now he gave us Yahushua Mashiach to reconcile our way back unto him. We have to be grafted back into the olive tree of Yasharal. So with that in mind, let's go back down now to look at this green thing here. Those men led by women will be cut off. Isaiah 27, verses 1, 2, 3. Come. Get away. Yeah. Man, you come. Man, he's following the light. Yeah. Read from verse 1.
In the day that Yahuwah, with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea.
Oh, this is talking about the end times here. Leviathan, of course, is Babylon, is another term for Babylon. So this is the end time destruction of Babylon. He shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. Continue.
In the day sing ye unto her, a vineyard of red wine. I, Yahuwah, do keep it. I will water it every moment, lest any hurt it. I will keep it night and day.
So this is when he recovers back his people and he starts nourishing them again. So let's go to verse 9. Let me see which verse. Yeah, verse 9 to 11.
By this, therefore, shall the iniquity of Jacob be purged, and this is all the fruit to take away his sin.
This is the end time and he's taking away the sins of our people. Go ahead.
When he maketh all the stones of the altar as chalk stones that are beaten in sunder, the grooves and images shall not stand up.
This is the end time when he promised again that you shall no longer call me Baali, but you shall call me Ishi. He shall take the words of Baal out of our mouths. This is when idolatry will be removed. Verse 10.
Yet the defenced city shall be desolate, and the habitation forsaken, left like a wilderness. There shall the calf feed, and there shall he lie down, and consume the branches thereof.
So he's saying that before that, Jerusalem will be a desolation and left like a wilderness. Yeah? Verse 11 tells us what he will do to the entire nation and who will destroy, who he will use to finish the nation. Verse 11.
When the boughs thereof are withered.
Now this is speaking about, this is what the Apostle Shaul was speaking about when he said in Romans 11, when he says, if the branches are broken off, so that the Gentiles can be grafted in. This is the breaking off of the branches. This is the destruction of the men of Yasharal. Verse 11.
When the boughs thereof are withered, they shall be broken off. The women come and set them on fire.
The women come and
set them on fire.
So the women will come. The women are those that will be the destruction of our men. The women come and set them on fire. For it is
a people of no understanding. Therefore he that made them would not have mercy on them, and he that formed them will show them no favor.
In other words, he will give the men over, give the nation over to the mercy of women. Very sorry to say, women, but that is just how it is. And let's go to a precept for that. Isaiah 3, verse about 4. Isaiah 3, verse 1, 2. Yeah, verse 12.
As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them.
And
women rule over them.
And women rule over them. And let's see what happens to our people when women rule over them.
O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err, and destroy the ways of thy paths.
When women rule over us, they cause us to err and destroy the way of our paths. So that is why let's go back to Isaiah 27:11. When the boughs thereof are withered, when the men are not in right standing, they shall be broken off the olive tree, and the woman will come and set them on fire, because they are without understanding. Therefore the Most High will not have mercy upon them. Continue, please. Where are we?
12.
27:11. Let me see what's next. 9. We said 9 to 11. Oh, so we're gonna go to Romans 11 and see what it means when it comes to grafted in. Romans 11:17 to 20 something. Romans 11:17.
And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and the fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches. But if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and thou standest by emunah. Be not high-minded, but fear.
So the branches, as we spoke about in Isaiah 27, were broken off because of unbelief. They were a people without understanding, and they were broken off to make way for the Gentiles. Continue.
For if Allah spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee.
So many of us who are just thinking that we are Israelites and this and that are not willing to actually go into the depths of everything that the Most High expects of us, we are going to be in problems because he did not spare the natural branches. Verse 22.
Behold, therefore the goodness and severity of Allah, on them which fell, severity, but toward thee, goodness, if thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou shalt be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in.
Graft in.
Graft in. For Allah is able to graft them in again.
So this is us people. We have to be graft in again. So it's not like, oh, you're an Israelite and you're in the kingdom. We have to be grafted back into the tree of righteousness. And as we showed earlier, the woman will be used to finish us off if we are not in right standing. Continue. For if thou wert cut out of, you're there?
What verse was that?
Romans 11:24.
For if thou were cut off of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree?
These, the natural branches, be grafted in. So we need to be grafted in again. Verse 25.
For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Yasharel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
All right, so this is where we are now, the fullness of the Gentiles coming in, and we were in blindness. So the woman will be used to finish off the men who are not in right standing. And again, the order has to be there. So unless we are converted, we will be in the flesh. Remember, we are speaking about conversion. Conversion from our sinful state back to before sinful Adam. So John 3:3-8 gives us this ultimatum, as it were. John 3:3-8.
Yahusha answered and said unto him, Truly, truly, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he could not see the kingdom of Allah.
Except a man be born again. What is this born again referring to? Converted. Converted. He cannot see the kingdom of Allah. Continue.
Nicodemus saith unto him, How can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? Yahusha answered, Truly, truly, I say unto thee, except a man be born of water and of the Ruach, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Alua.
Unless, except a man be born of water and of the Ruach, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Alua. Continue.
Marvel not that I said
that which is.
that which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Ruach is Ruach.
So this is the conversion now. We are born naturally of the flesh. We now have to be born of the Ruach. The Ruach is leading us into all righteousness. Continue.
Marvel not that I said unto thee, ye must be born again.
So this is how you know now when we are born again. We are able to be taken and tossed wherever the Most High wants to take us and toss us. Verse 8.
The wind bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it cometh and whither it goeth. So is every man that is born of the Ruach.
So is everyone that is born of the Ruach. So we have no self-determination. We are just led by the Ruach. We don't know what is happening next, what is coming next, what is coming tomorrow. We just live and are led by the Ruach. So if we are in the flesh, if we are not born of the Ruach, then we are going to be doing the works of the flesh. There's no two ways. There are no two ways about it. If we are not converted, we will be doing the works of the flesh. Galatians 5:13-24.
For brethren, ye have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. But if you bite and devour one another, take heed that you be not consumed one of another.
But continue.
This I say then, walk in the Ruach, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
So this I say then would be like consequently, which means as a result of all this that we just read, in order to prevent it from happening, we must do what? Walk in the Ruach. And ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. This is the conversion. When we are not minding natural things, we are not seeing people for who they are, but for the Ruach that is in them. And the love and compassion of the Most High is in us so much that we do not have animosity towards one another. We so desire peace and love and for one another to make it because of the love that we have, then we will be not fulfilling the lust of our flesh. Verse 17.
For the flesh lusteth against the Ruach, and the Ruach against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that you cannot do the things that you would.
So if we are walking according to our physical eyes and according to our emotions, our feelings, then our flesh will be lusting against the Ruach. All right? And the Ruach will be there battling the flesh. And they are contrary one to the other, like oil and water. They cannot mix. And you will not be able to do the things that you should. You will not be able to walk in righteousness. But verse 18 says,
But if you be led of the Ruach, you are not under the law.
So this is if you are converted and led of the Ruach, you are not under the law, which means you will not be walking in sin, as we showed earlier. Verse 19.
And that's the law of your members, right? Not the Torah.
Yeah.
Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revilings, and such like. Revelings and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Elohim.
So in other words, as long as we are in the flesh, as long as we are not transformed, as long as we are not converted, we cannot inherit the kingdom of the Most High. But when you are converted, then we will be walking in this from verse 22. This shows that when we are converted, this is what we will be walking in.
But the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, emunah, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law.
There is no law. There is no law that says thou shalt not love. Thou shalt not be in shalom. Thou shalt not be long-suffering, and so on. And verse 24 says,
And they that are Hamashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts.
So what is that saying? If you belong to Hamashiach, the affections and lusts of this world will not be in us. So we will not be sentimental, emotional, and all sorts of and easily bothered, easily flustered, easily angered, all of those things. And we will not be lusting after the things of the world and materialism and all sorts of desires when you belong to Hamashiach, because we will be like him. Hamashiach did not love the world. Yeah? All right. So, if we are not converted, again, we cannot enter the kingdom, because if we are not converted, we cannot please the Most High. If we are not converted, we cannot please the Most High. Romans chapter 8, verse, what do I have there? 1. Romans chapter 8, verse 1.
There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Hamashiach Yahusha, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach.
Who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach. So when you are converted, there is no condemnation in you. Notice it does not say there is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Hamashiach Yahusha. Full stop. It says, for those who walk not after the flesh. So if we are led by the desires of the flesh, we condemn ourselves already because we have not believed in Hamashiach enough. Verse 2.
For the law of the Ruach of life in Hamashiach Yahusha hath made me free from the law of sin and death.
This is what we have been talking about. When you are in Hamashiach, you are a new creature. And the only way to overcome your sinful nature, that is the law of sin and death, the only way to overcome your sinful nature is to walk in the Ruach in Yahusha Hamashiach, believing in him, walking as he walked, obeying his instructions, emulating his life, walking in fear of his father as he feared his father. That would make you free from the law of sin and death, and therefore our sinful nature will have no power over us, will not be able to will us to do that which we don't want to do. Verse 3.
For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Elohim sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh.
So the law was weak through the flesh, in that because of our sinful nature, when we hear the law, then it brings in us all manner of concupiscence, all manners of lust and desires. So the Most High sent his Son to condemn sin in the flesh. So when we walk after him and walk like him, then we too can condemn sin in our flesh. Verse 4.
Then the righteousness, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach.
So we cannot walk out the righteousness of the law unless we are converted. Unless we are converted and be like little children, totally transformed, new people, new creatures, new creations, then we cannot walk out the righteousness of the law. We have to be walking after the Ruach. Because verse 5 says,
For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Ruach, the things of the Ruach.
There it is. So when we are in the flesh, it is fleshly things that consume us, fleshly things that overpower us and rule us. But when you walk after the Ruach, then you will mind spiritual things. And here is the reason, very serious reason here. Verse 6.
For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace.
To be carnally minded, when we are minding the things of the flesh, it is death. Because it will lead us to sin, which leads us to death. But when we are spiritually minded, it will bring life and shalom and peace. So that whenever things come upon us, problems, etc., we will handle it differently from those who are in the flesh. When we are in the flesh and problems and troubles come upon us, then we react in the flesh. We react with the works of the flesh that are in Galatians 5, starting about verse 19, I think, when it speaks about anger, wrath, and all of those things will come upon us when we are in the flesh. But when we are in the Ruach, led by the Ruach, we respond to things with those things on the wall over there. Love, joy, shalom, patience, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, self-control. And it is very important that we understand this because verse 7 says,
Because the carnal mind is enmity against Elohim, for it is not subject to the law of Elohim, neither indeed can be.
Wow. So as long as we are carnal, it is not a choice. We have to be converted. We have to be turned around. Many of us people, most of us in this world are saying that we are believers, not understanding what is expected of us. Yes, we might be living a more righteous life than we lived in Babylon. That's how many of us judge it. Boy, I have come a long way. Because before I used to do this and before I used to do that. No, that's not enough. It is a total transformation that we have to have. Because as long as there is still carnality in our mind, our minds are still carnal. It says we cannot be subject to the law of Elohim. So we cannot even be keeping the law. And it is when we are carnal, we speak most of all about the law. That is not righteous. They are not obeying the law. But we ourselves cannot be subject to the law of Elohim when we are carnal. Verse 8 says,
So then, they that are in the flesh cannot please Elohim.
They that are in the flesh
cannot please Elohim.
This is why we have to be converted, people. This is why we have to be converted and get ourselves out of the dominion of the flesh. Too long, our flesh has been ruling us. And we have to resolve today, as I'm speaking this. I hope we resolve today, people, to move out of this dominion of the flesh over us. Too long. We are here to please Yahuwah. And it says if we are in the flesh, we cannot please him. So what are we doing? Now verse 9, he's speaking to set apart people. He says,
But ye are not in the flesh, but in the Ruach. If so be that the Ruach Alua dwell in you.
There's no guarantee that as a believer, the Ruach of Alua will dwell in you. You will have the presence, we will have the presence of his Ruach, but will the Ruach dwell in us? It is a condition. If, and the only way we will not be in the flesh is when the Ruach of Alua dwells in us. Look at it. You are not in the flesh, but in the Ruach, if so be that the Ruach of Alua dwell in you. Now hear this daunting sentence here. Read it, please.
Now, if any man have not the Ruach Mashiach, he is none of his.
He is
none of his.
You see how this thing's serious, people? This thing is very serious. We have been grown and nurtured in Babylon. We have a form of holiness, righteousness. We come, we think that that is what brings us into the temple. That is the standard of Yahuwah. That is not the standard of Yahuwah. The standard of Yahuwah is that we be converted. We saw in John 3, he says if we are not converted, we cannot enter the kingdom. This is what we need to concentrate on, people. Being converted. Letting the word transform us to the point that we become suicidal. We give up on everything of this world, willing to take any problem, anything that comes, not guarding ourselves against any problem, against anything, not seeking comforts of this world, not seeking any, giving up on every single thing, setting our affections on things above, not on the things of this world. That's what we need to be concentrating on. Not to be fighting, bickering among each other. Because we need each other to help each other. Verse 10.
And if Hamashiach be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Ruach is life because of righteousness.
The Ruach is life because of righteousness. Continue.
But if the Ruach of him that raised up Yahusha from the dead dwell in you, he that raised up Hamashiach from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Ruach that dwelleth in you.
Continue.
Therefore, brethren, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if ye live after the flesh, you shall die.
So this, even for us who have intent of going into the kingdom, if we live after the flesh, there is no kingdom for us. You see, it is very tempting to say, all right, we have given up because we have this thing as if it can happen to us that we think the Most High owes us something. We have given up on our life. Oh, Father, you owe us this and you owe us that. He owes us nothing. Yeah? The fact that you have given up, like for us, is no guarantee that we're going to step forward. It says it in the book of Jude. Jude, of course, is only one verse. Verse 5.
I will therefore put you in remembrance, though ye once knew this, how that Yahuwah, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believed not.
Afterward did what?
Destroyed them that believed not.
And this is the second Exodus, when he is taking us, just as he took us out of Egypt. People don't get it twisted. He saved the people out of the land of Mitzrayim. Afterward destroyed them that believe not. And he told us in Ezekiel 20. Let's go back and show you where he told us this plainly in Ezekiel 20. Let me get to the verse that says it. I think it's about 38.
Mm-hmm. And I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Yasharel, and ye shall know that I am Yahuwah.
See there? This is where he says it. He'll bring you out from where you sojourn, but you will not enter. So people, we have to really, really take this thing seriously. Being transformed. Being transformed. So that we do not live after the flesh. Read 13 again.
In which book?
Romans 8, sorry.
For if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye through the Ruach do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live.
Look at that. If ye through the Ruach do kill the deeds of the body. What does it mean to kill the deeds of the body? The old sinful nature with its own sinful self. Through the Ruach that is in you, if we kill that and we become new creatures, new creations, then we shall live. Verse 14.
For as many as are led by the Ruach Alua, they are the sons of Alua.
As many as are led by the Ruach of Alua, not led by their own flesh and their own desires, they are the sons of Alua. And we were speaking about fear earlier. No believer should have fear. Verse 15.
For ye have not received the Ruach of bondage again to fear.
The Ruach of bondage. Bondage to what? Bondage to sin. It is our sinfulness, our sinful nature that leads us to fear. That is why the true believers will overcome him by the word, blood of the Lamb, and the word of their testimony, and will not love their lives unto the death. That means they will not even fear death. If we as believers are fearing, it is a sure indication to us that what? We are not converted. Because we do not have the Ruach of fear. But what have we received?
But ye have received the Ruach of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father.
The Ruach of adoption, that is when Yahuwah has reconciled us back to himself, adopted us back to himself. Then we will be walking converted in righteousness. All right? But the whole point of it is Yahuwah will not wait on us forever. Yahuwah will not wait on us forever. Romans 2 verses 1 to 11. He will not wait on us forever.
Therefore, thou art inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art that judgest. For wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself. For thou that judgest does the same thing.
So this is when we are in the flesh and we are in our self-righteousness, judging other people so that we do not suffer persecution, judging other people so that we remain supreme over them, or we are able to condemn them. When we are converted people, we will not be judging people to bring people down under us. When you are converted, we will be walking in the fruits of the Ruach, and whatever judgment we pass will be for the righteous judgment of the Most High, and also through love and concern and compassion for the other person. Yeah? Verse 2.
But we are sure that the judgment of Alua is according to truth against them which commit such things.
So when we're judging other people and we do the same things, then the judgment of Alua is upon us. Verse 3.
And thinkest thou this, O man, that judgest them which do such things, and does the same, that thou shalt escape the judgment of Alua? Or despiseth thou the riches of his goodness, and forbearance and long suffering, not knowing that the goodness of Alua leadeth thee to repentance.
So this is for everyone who is out there watching and everyone here in our assembly, everyone who has ear to this. The riches of his goodness and forbearance and long suffering is intended to lead us to repentance. So here is the problem that we have. His goodness and his forbearance and long suffering, we take it for his acceptance of us as we are. Think about it. He does not send certain things to us. We think, oh, everything is okay. We go through certain things, nothing. We just continue living our lives. He is expecting us to repent. But if we harden our hearts and we do not repent, then guess what? Verse 5.
But after thy hardness and impenitent heart, treasurest up unto thyself wrath against the day of wrath, and revelation of the righteous judgment of Allah, who will render to every man according to his deed.
You see? His goodness is to lead us to repentance. We take it for granted that, hey, Yahuwah is with me. Not repenting. It says we are treasuring up ourselves wrath. That's why I fear Yahuwah. Because you cannot tell. You cannot tell what is what. So you have to just continue to diligently seek him and strive to do his work and his will. Because you cannot tell. So, me assuming that, hey, I am good and I'm okay, that could be me treasuring up wrath against the day of wrath. Very serious. Because he will render to every man according to his deed. Verse 7.
To them who by patient continuance in well-doing seek for splendor and honor and immortality, eternal life.
So those who by patient continuance in well-doing. So hear this. As I was saying, that many of us take the Most High's silence for acceptance. So if we are there, not continuing in well-doing, thinking that the Most High has our back, we have a serious problem because we may be treasuring up wrath for ourselves. But if through it all, we just strive and seek after doing whatever is well, whatever is right in the sight of Yahuwah, then splendor and honor and immortality awaits us. Verse 8, but what about those? Verse 8.
But unto them that are contentious and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation and wrath, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first and also of the Gentile.
So, contentious, unto them that are contentious. Let's look at the meaning of that word. Unto them that are, what a holy, oh. Contentious is erithia, perhaps from the same as G 2042, properly intrigue, that is by implication, faction, strife. So those that love strife or love division, this is what it is speaking about. Those of us who are contentious and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness. It says, indignation and wrath, tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil, of the Jew first and of the Gentile. This is very serious, people. We have to make sure that we are repentant, striving at all times in well-doing. And when we are gathered together, we are here to help one another. We should not be here to break down one another. Let us all, wherever you are gathered, wherever you are in the world, take this word. When you are together, it is to build one another, because those of us who are contentious, it is not pretty. But let's see for those who do good. Verse 10.
But splendor, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile. For where there is no respect of persons with Alua.
All right. Anyone has the time? How long have you been on? Huh? Oh, it's long. All right. Whoa. Whoa. No, because we started late and had some stops. Yeah. All right. So let's end here looking at the unconverted. The unconverted will be in the flesh. And this is what we need to be wary of. Sure signs of us being unconverted, this angel of wickedness and the angel of righteousness from the shepherd of Hermas, then we are going to show the sure signs of when we are converted. The unconverted, shepherd of Hermas, chapter 36, page 38, verse 4.
Now observe the works of the angel of wickedness. First of all, he is ill-tempered and bitter and senseless, and his works are evil, tearing down Elohim's servants. So whenever this one enters your heart, recognize him by his works.
His works are wickedness, wicked, ill-tempered, bitter, senseless, and has evil works that tear down Yahuwah's servant. Verse 5.
But I do not know, sir, I said, how to recognize him. Listen, he said, when some angry temperamental outburst or bitterness comes over you, recognize that he is in you.
So anger and bitterness and temperamental outbursts are sure signs that we are not converted. Sin, walking in sinfulness, unforgiveness, all of the things, walking in the works of the flesh, in Galatians 5, all of those things show us that we are not converted. Now, the good news when we are converted. The converted, 1 Peter 2, 19 to 25. This is how you know those who are converted. Those who are converted will be those who are willing to suffer. Those who are willing to suffer even when they are right. Verse 19.
For this is thankworthy, if a man for conscience toward Alua endure grief, suffering wrongfully.
Suffering
wrongfully.
So they are right, but they are willing to suffer wrongfully. These are persons who are converted. Sure way to know those who are converted, those who are willing to suffer wrongfully. And this is where we all need to be, people. If we are all in this path, there will be no conflicts among us. Wherever believers are gathered, and if everyone in the assembly is like that, then there will be no problems because everyone is willing to be to suffer wrongfully. How can there be arguments? How can there be problems? Impossible. Let's continue with knowing how we are converted. Verse 20.
For what splendor is it, if when you be buffeted for your faults, you shall take it patiently? But if, when you do well and suffer for it, you take it patiently, this is acceptable with Alua.
This is the acceptable will of Alua when you are buffeted for your fault. So his will is not that we are right at all times. His will is not that we are right at all times and we are comfortable at all times. His will is when you are buffeted, beaten for your faults, and you take it patiently. When you do well, when you do that which is right, and you suffer for doing that which is right, and you take it patiently, that is what the Most High wants. Because that is how you know that you are converted. Verse 21.
For even hereunto were ye called, because Hamashiach also suffered for us, leaving us an example, that ye should follow his steps.
So that we should suffer for doing right, suffer wrongfully, because Hamashiach did the same. Verse 22.
Who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. Who, when he was reviled, reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously.
Continue.
Who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we, being dead to sins, should live unto righteousness. But by whose stripes you were healed.
So we are dead to sins through Yahusha when we follow him. But here is the verse that crowns it all. Verse 25.
For ye were as sheep going astray, but are now returned unto the shepherd and bishop of your soul.
This is it. You were as sheep gone astray. You were in sin, living in sin, but now you are returned unto the shepherd and bishop of your souls. You are now converted. You have now become the sons of Alua. You have now been reconciled unto Alua. And this is how you know you have been reconciled, when we are able to suffer while we are right. Buffeted for being right, beaten for being right, and yet willing to suffer it patiently. This is conversion, people, and this is what is missing from assemblies, from people worldwide. This is what we are missing. Concentrating on knowledge, concentrating on knowing scriptures, on getting understanding of deeper things, and not concentrating on transforming me, not concentrating on taking ourselves totally away from the old man, from the sinful nature. This is what it is all about, that transformation. It is better you are transformed. It is better you are transformed rather than to have all this knowledge of scriptures and have all this knowledge of deeper things, have all these spiritual gifts, have all these things. It is better one is transformed. Have all this knowledge of the law, as it says in Romans, is it Romans 2? Let me see. I'm at Luke 2. Romans chapter 2. Romans 2, verse 12, verse 14.
For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another.
In 16.
In the day when Alua shall judge the secrets of men by Yahusha HaMashiach according to my gospel.
So Shaul is telling us that these Gentiles, they don't even know the law. But by nature, they do the things contained in the law, which shows us that it is more important to be transformed in righteousness than to even know the law. It is more important for us to be transformed rather than to have all these spiritual gifts and to have all this knowledge. And this is what we are missing. We are concentrating on these spiritual gifts and everything else, but not concentrating on being converted. So this is for us today. This is what we all need to focus on. And we all need each other. Wherever we are gathered, we all need each other to help each other. This is by no means saying that anyone is righteous and anyone is unrighteous. Because all of us, if anyone here is saying that they have reached where they are, then I know that we are liars. Yeah? Every one of us have a way to go. And so every one of us, we need to help one another, not to beat down or to tear down one another. All right? We should be helping one another along the way. Wherever you are, wherever you're gathered, wherever you associate with the people of the Most High. All right? Have anything to say?
No.
Okay, so this is it. Thank you all for watching. I want to apologize for the feed if you're watching this later. We had such great technical difficulties that everything was one big mess. So we got cut off from our live feed. But anyway, hopefully it will be rectified in the end. All right, so this is Kazak Aliyahu Yasharal. We've been here for a while. Until next time, shalom.
Shalom.